it's scary times, right? You see, I mean, automation is working its way into your businesses. I'm just curious, like, we're going to talk about where we need to go, but are you guys nervous? Is anyone nervous about kind of where it's going, right? I mean, is it going to automate me out of a job, right? What can it do? It's scary times. But I thought it was really interesting what you said earlier. Like, I look at different technologies, like look at the dishwasher. Apparently that's supposed to make your life faster and more efficient. I think I do more dishes a day than if I were just wipe them. I mean, I think what we see is like technologies like this don't necessarily remove you, right, from work. It changes the task, right? And it speeds things up, right? So that you can do more. So let's talk a little bit about that. So just who I am, I'm Chief Innovation Officer at Ketchum. A little bit about me. I love GEO. I love that similar web session. That was awesome. So thank you for that. I'm a hockey dad. I'm all over the place. I've got 4 kids. I'm not religious. People always ask, are you religious? Like, no, I just have a lot of kids. 3 of them play hockey. 1 does fencing. And I used to be at WWE where I spent a lot of time working in social media and content. So I love content. I also worked at IPG in paid, and now I'm in communications. So I love looking at how all these systems work together. I don't know if it's a brag fact, but I got to put The Rock and John Cena on Twitter backstage at an event. It was one of the strangest experiences of my life. But that's me. Let's talk a little bit about like data over time. Aaron, you'll know this. You recognize this slide. From a data perspective, you may have seen some of these slides, but just to talk a little bit about where sort of measurement has been going over the years, right? We started with broadcast and reach. Then, the internet hit. I've been through all of this except for broadcast. I'm not that old. But like, I saw the internet boom when I came out of school, and we were looking at intent and like, what is everyone searching for? Then we're starting to measure things like engagement with social media, two-way conversation, right? And now here we are, 2024. I think really 2023 is when ChatGPT just sort of, opened up the Pandora's box. But 2024, right? It all became about the answer. You've probably heard that all day, right? Share of answer, share of answer. That's the new game. I just think it's extraordinary, and part of the pain that we're feeling from a data and analytics standpoint as a workforce is how fast the technology actually arrived on the scene, right? Look at how long it took Netflix to get to 100 million users. 18 years. You had a little bit of time if you were a data and analytics person or you were in marketing to figure out that platform. Now look at it over time, right? It's coming faster and faster, and the consumers got there faster than we did, right? They just started using it. In 2 months, ChatGPT, 100 million users. That's just absolutely extraordinary. Now look at it today. I saw data, it said 900 million daily active users. Fastest growing platform in history. Extraordinary. And that's just ChatGPT. That doesn't account for Claude, which everyone wants to use now because of all the Pentagon stuff and the great Super Bowl ad. And then you've got Google. If you use Google, you're using generative search, right? Because AI overviews is generative. Then you got AI mode, you got Gemini. It's massive. And what's fascinating here is, right, people aren't clicking. Happy with the answer. Last year it was 60%. This year people are predicting 70 to 80% of all people will not validate the answers. Kind of scary. It's like, I'm skeptical, but I'm lazy. So I'll just take the answer. I'll assume it's directionally really close. And if the health answer says not a medical advice, it's like, all right, well, we'll wing it. And then the Gartner stat at the bottom is really fascinating, which the suggestion is site traffic is going to decline. Has anyone seen site declines in traffic? Yeah? Anyone not want to admit that they're seeing site declines in traffic? Yeah. Some people are seeing it dramatically, some less so. I've heard some say it's going up. But here's the reality. If 70% of people get the answer and don't click through, site traffic is going to collapse. This is why the New York Times is pissed off, right? You're stealing our news. No one's clicking through the New York Times. We can't serve an ad. I used to be in publishing. That's a real problem. Can't serve an ad, can't pay your journalists. The whole thing falls apart. But then really snake eating the tail, right? Because if you don't have news, we're all stuck in March 2026. There's nothing new. It needs to feed, right? So we need to get to this state where this is going to work for everybody. And by the way, these are cool as hell. We'll talk about these in a sec. Anyone got a Meta Ray-Ban display? Anyone get their hands on this? You got one? Man, how did you get one? Why are you holding on to it? We work together. I'm like, what? We got one? All right. So this is the truth, right? AI scales velocity. Things are moving really fast. You can get creative fast. You can get answers fast. I don't know if it's all good, right? Which is the other problem, which is it scales distortion. It hallucinates. It gives bad information. Your narrative truth of your brand is one thing, and then you've got a competitor saying something else, right? Things are getting really distorted really fast. That's what you're facing. And it's a problem. Mis and disinformation. I don't know if you've seen the WEF stat, World Economic Forum, saying it's the second biggest issue facing society. For them to come out and say that, that is a big deal, right? Right behind what? Geopolitical conflict and war. And it's mis and disinformation. And where is that coming from? Digital, search, right? That's the problem. This is a massive, massive societal problem. I'll be honest, I don't know what's real anymore. I was with my kids the other day. We were scrolling through, and I was like, that's funny. And my kid was like, AI. I was like, well, what about this? AI. So it's just like, it's hard, right? You don't even know what's real anymore in the feed, and we're just getting started. Anyone see the Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt fight thing? Did that blow your mind? I was like, what? That was incredible, and that's the worst it's going to be? Man, things are going to change. Here's another problem. Trust is increasing in these platforms. I just said 78% of people trust it, right? 50% of all people admit to sending false news out into the world. There's a huge gap between what we think we know, right, and what we really know. That's a problem. And then I will mention this, and then we'll get in a little bit to the workforce and what this means. But like, we're going to laugh about this session like a year from now. We're like, remember when we were talking about ChatGPT and text? Right? And we were like, how cute, and we're typing things. Okay, maybe that'll still be around, but think about how fast AI is now, how fast it came on the system, and where it's moving really quickly, right? So for example, you've got multimodal. So OpenAI came out with a browser called Atlas, where they're trying to essentially assemble websites together on the fly, right? Don't go to a website, ask a topic, we'll pull the videos for you, all the sidebars and information. No need for a website. We build them for you on the fly. It's like, whoa, all right, that's interesting. Then you've got agents. You've heard all about this. And when I say agents, I mean things that go out into the world and do things for you, right? We want to go out to dinner. So I just say, hey, look at my calendar, go to Yelp, then go to OpenTable and book it for me, right? This is a whole different thing. Who knows what that's going to turn into, right? Again, we're just beginning to understand what agents can do for us. I think we all would hope we could do like expense reports and stuff like that. But it's going to have much bigger implications. Ambient AI already exists. Anyone watch The Pit? Yeah, good show. Anyone on season 2 of The Pit? Did you see the AI moment? Where the woman's like, oh, don't worry, you don't have to put in notes into the system because the AI just listens. This is real, right? 90% of all backends for medical systems is called Epic, right? They now have plugins to these tools. They're kind of like, imagine like an Amazon Echo, and it's listening to you and your doctor. The doctor has to tell you, of course, well, they should, right? And then it picks it up and just puts all the notes in for them, right? In what that's supposed to do is give them sort of their cognitive time back to spend more time on care. But that's happening. But imagine ambient walking into your home. It can check your temperature, your mood, somehow like, you know, it knows things about you, right? And then the fourth thing, which is really fascinating, is wearables and wieldables, right? This is going to be coming, you know, really fast. There are going to be some winners, and there are going to be some that you're like, what is that? Like, it makes no sense. Do you guys know Johnny Ives? He's the guy who designed the iPhone, right? He was Steve Jobs' right-hand man, built all the beautiful tech that we love today. Then he left when Tim Cook was in charge. He built a new company, and he sold it to OpenAI. Now OpenAI and Johnny Ives are trying to figure out how do we bring all this stuff into sort of disruptive technologies. The first thing they came up with is a little bit of a head-scratcher. It's a pen. Presumably you can just write things down and then it will answer questions for you. You can point it at things and it can do things. We don't really know. It was supposed to come out this year. Maybe it's coming out next year now. But it's an interesting technology. And then I'll show it to you later. The glasses to me is the most interesting. So everyone who has glasses in here, right? This is like a score. I think we'll all be wearing glasses whether you need them or not in a year. I mean, it's really fascinating what's happening. AR was kind of a joke, right? Meta changed its name. Like, yeah, it turns out we don't all want to be in like rooms as avatars having conversations with each other. I think we could have all told Zuckerberg that. But what's fascinating is like Minority Report, when your glasses with edge computing on your phone is providing anything I see, I can in front of me understand who is this person, what is he wearing, tell me everything I need to know so I can manipulate him into buying something for me, right? It's fascinating, and it's coming. And by the way, Facebook, Meta, just tried to get sort of a release for having the glasses be able to sort of personally identify people based on their features. Really scary. They're trying to do this now while there's so much confusion in the world and no one's paying attention. And Trump's like, you know, we want to be minimally invasive with AI. But that's crazy. That is really crazy stuff. All right. So what is then happening for your roles in data and analytics? So this is what I'm saying, right? One, velocity is a new opportunity and absolutely a new risk, right? You've got, I see creatives team saying like, we can storyboard this in 5 seconds. Well, we can create assets. They're really good. I've seen some really good assets. I've seen some really terrible assets. But it's speed, right? It's speed through production. Yeah, it gives you cost, cuts. But it's really how fast it moves. And then anyone in crisis here monitoring, things like, reputation and stuff, right? How fast is that moving now? It's like, Cracker Barrel, holy cow. Talk about a company that just completely exploded on them, right? Bots. Bots are creating fake news. People are reading it, right? Think it's real, right? And then the algorithm is like, everyone seems to love this stuff, right? It's algorithm fed, I always say, human read, right? And then algorithm spread at the end. It's a real problem. This information is moving quickly. So what does that mean for you guys? It means you got to keep up, right? People are demanding it. We just put out a campaign. What do we got? What's the data? Tell me what's going on. Analytics now needs to kind of start moving fast with get with the program. The expectation is misinformation. What do we do? How do we stop it? Where did it come from? Right? If it's a creative campaign, give me performance data. We need it, right? We should have it. It's AI, right? Where's the data? That's a lot of pressure, right? We're used to being thoughtful, looking at the data, analyzing it, but now there's pressure on analysts. I don't think that's going to stop. Right? I do think things are speeding up now, so now we're going to have to figure out how we're going to deal with that. And then the last thing is things are going to sunset. There are going to be tasks that you just don't do anymore. Tasks you may love, tasks you may hate. These are things that can be automated better. We don't want to believe it, but they will. There are going to be things that just go away, right? They're going to be sunset. But with that, there are going to be new things you're going to need to do, right? That's the silver lining, right? And so automation is going to be needed, but that augmentation is something I really think we need to start thinking about. What does your job look like when this happens? And it's already probably starting to happen. So there's a super obvious truth then. Based on all of that, if AI scales velocity and distortion, then analytics roles literally cannot remain static. Can we agree? There's going to have to be a change. You may not have made the change yet, but it's coming. No one's going to wait, right? So I put up on here some roles, and again, these may not be the right ones, but here are some roles analytics roles on the left. Could you see them? Some of those roles may remain, but can you see them evolving into a new state, right? So look at something like media monitoring, right? You're really tracking coverage, but bot amplification, I think, is really critical now. You may be looking more at narrative shifts than just sentiment. We obviously know SEO moving into GEO. You've been talking about that all day. Crisis monitoring may turn into sort of AI predictive monitoring, right? All these roles are going to shift a little bit. Anywhere where you're just building a report and pulling from a dashboard, gone. I would just assume that's going away. So if that's your job, right, think about what that means, right? Where does it evolve to? I think it depends on where you are in the system. It's going to evolve for everybody, right? If you're junior to mid and you're pulling reports, your role is going to shift upstream. Your expectation is we don't need you to pull the reports. We need you to interpret them, right? It's not enough to just build a report. We already got it. It's already automated. If you're mid to senior, I would argue that you now need to build workflows. Any of you have really good workflows now with AI, or do you feel like it's more like we have the tool and we have yet to figure out where it fits in the system? We kind of use it. Everyone uses it in their own kind of way. Or do you guys have really good, who's got really good operational workflows with AI? Yeah. What's happened, right, is it's come so fast. It's like, we all need it. Get the tool out in everyone's hands. We'll sort of train them on these group meetings where no one's on camera, right? And it's like, did anyone learn anything? How are you using it? We literally work next together in the same team. My workflow is different than your workflow. How are you using it? No one's really figured that out yet. That is really, really important. And then the last one is the senior to exec roles. You're going to have to start building new teams. and new people or upskilling people. What does your organization look like? Don't wait for someone to come in and say, why are we behind? What should we have? Like, what roles do you think you need to be in this new kind of space? And that's a big responsibility, but you're really looking at it, right, from a very macro perspective as a senior individual, like, what does my team look like? So you've all heard of like human in the loop, right? Human in the loop. Or that's the new thing. It's hybrid. Don't worry, you're not losing your job, right? You're going to be a hybrid, worker. Okay, human in the loop, I don't particularly love. Human in the loop sounds like AI's in charge. It's like, we're going to keep you in the loop. Don't worry about it. We got you. When we figure it out, you come in, and that's it. Like, that's weird, but that's really what we're saying, right? Are we? Or are there different loops? Is it more complicated than that? What does a workflow look like? Has anyone figured out human in the loop in your job? What does that mean, right? Well, I would argue there's one thing, and it's called human in the loop. There's some interesting reading out there about it. You're talking about speed with interpretation. This is really 80, I would argue 80% AI and 20% human. That's what human in the loop is. Human in the loop is AI is generating reports at scale. You come in the last 20% and validate. Do the report, crunch the data. I've got an MCP. We've dumped it all in, amazing insights, built the report. Now your job is in the last 20%. You haven't done all that painful manual labor of building a report, but you come in and you have to interpret it. That to me is human in the loop. If you have tasks that are like that, that's what this is. But I would argue there's a lot more than human in the loop. There's something called human on the loop. This is a little bit different. This is more of a 50-50% workflow. This is for anyone who does crisis management and monitoring, right? You don't just come in at the end. You're like persistently working with AI throughout the day. It's monitoring, monitoring, monitoring. You're looking, you're making judgment. Do I need to jump in, not jump in? But the work is split between, in that task, probably you and whatever platforms you're using. A little bit different. Then there's human, what we call over the loop. Human over the loop is a little more of a senior role. Human over the loop is more 20 AI, 80% human. Right? This is when, and you know this, you've done these things, right? Which is, I have a hypothesis, I've got deep experience as a data and analytics person, I kind of know the answer, I'm going to build sort of a hypothesis, but then I want something to pressure test it. And so what do? You go to AI, what do you think of this? What have I missed, right? And then at the end, you're like, well, that was stupid. I'm not putting that in, or you misunderstood that, or I'm going to interrogate a little further. And then finally, you get something that you're pretty happy with. But on the ends, the 40-40 was you did all the inputs and all the thinking. It kind of gave you sort of stuff to react to. And then on the end, you used your smarts to actually deliver on it. I know what a measurement framework is. I don't need AI to tell me that. But I do want to play a little bit with it because I need something, right? In the absence of a coworker being around, like let it help me and support me. Those are your roles, right? You're either here, here, or here at any given point of the day. In all experiences, you have AI probably participating in what you do. So I would begin to think of it this way. This is where workflows, I think, are really headed. And then people also ask me, like, okay, data and analytics, what do I need to know? What are the new hard skills, right? I'll put these up here. The first one is probably super obvious to everyone, or it should be, which is prompt engineering. It is, I've seen people say they can prompt engineer, and they're so bad at it. It's like, yeah, you can't say that. You've just led the witness. You're going to get the most biased response, or you need deeper system instructions to get what you need out of it. But prompt engineering is really important, right? You know this, bad inputs, bad outputs. But the second one, AI analytics and model literacy, is really interesting. Do you know how the LLMs work? We know it spits out, talks real pretty, but why? What is it actually doing? It's not super complicated. I mean, it's short selling it by saying it's autocomplete, kind of what it is, right? Right? It's building a full prompt. It's building a full prompt from your question. When you ask a question, it does something called query fan-out. You talk about that today, right? The question's behind the question. Why do you think you get a big treatise, right? It says, oh, you're asking this question. Well, here are 6 other questions that you probably should be asking, and then I'm going to give you a big story, and you'll be like, oh, I didn't even ask that, and it gave me all this great information. I wonder why. It's called query fan-out. AI query fans out. Then it may look at your memory, makes a decision. Do I need to understand this person, right? Who are they? Puts it into the question. It may look at your conversation, puts it into the question. Then it sends agents out into the world. right? Go get me information. We don't have enough in the training model. Then one goes to Reddit, one's going to go to a brand site, whatever. It's hunting for information, right? So it's going to synthesize a story. It needs new info. All that comes in. Now you have a prompt. You wrote this. The prompt that actually goes through is like this. Then the model goes, right? Then the model using weights and bias, right? All its deep understanding, auto-completes, right? The next word. What is the next word? Well, it uses sort of standard deviation. It says, like, based on the model, it could be one of these 10 words, right? This word probably 70% of the time. This word maybe 20. This word 5. And the rest of these 1, 1, 1. So what happens is, it's probabilistic. It chooses one of them. In some instances, it chooses the 1%. That's why you get sort of weird variations, right? You could type a question, and then the next question is totally different. Because at the end, it's using probability, right? So that's what's actually happening. And when you begin to understand that, you're like, now I can begin to understand how to manipulate this thing a little bit, right? And begin to measure success. The third one, structured data and schema design, you've probably talked about a little bit of that today. I think it's an important skill. So how do you structure data on a page, right, to be picked up and absorbed by the LLMs so that you show up? The fourth one, automation workflow design, or maybe we call it augmentation workflow design, right, is probably the better term, which is what needs to be done to get the best product by task. And a lot of people have not mapped that process out. Just haven't. I just wing it. I guess I'll jump into Claude and ask a few questions and I'll do it. It's like, no, what is the process to deliver the best product? Synthetic audiences, you saw it today. Caitlin, is she still here? Yeah, partner in crime. She's awesome. I mean, looking at synthetic audiences, I think, is a really interesting way to begin to think about pre-checking things, right? Getting data before you go to market and all the data that has to go in, right, to make those things have high fidelity, right, is really critical. And then lastly, vibe coding. Anyone vibe code at all? Oh, awesome. What platforms do you vibe code on or you played with? Which one? Which Claude? Claude Code? Yeah, Claude Code's awesome. Yeah, Claude Code. Replit maybe. Which one? Not Lovable's good. That's more like a, quickly stand stuff up. I'll just tell you, Google AI Studio, you can, it's unlimited. Just go in and play forever, right? If you just want to see it, and it's honestly miraculous. Like if you're not doing it as an analytics person, don't be scared of it. I'm telling you, this is not a coder's tool. This is a non-coder's tool. Over on the left, what you're seeing here is me just prompting stuff. I was like, oh, I want to build a press release optimizer, right, based on whatever data. And then I want analytics, and I want a dashboard, and I want to be able to upload things. And I want it to then atomize it into talking points for executives and into blogs and Twitter posts or X posts or whatever it is. It's amazing. You just talk on the left, it starts building on the right. It's easy to get started, hard to perfect, right? But it's a way for you to begin to think like, I don't have this tool. It would be really nice if I could look at data differently, or I can automate some of these processes that are really kind of painful and slowing down my day. So I leave you with that. I just am really into it. I think it's super exciting, and anyone, it sounds like you've played in it, right? AI, Google Studio, so yeah, it's just awesome. Try it. And then let's talk new hires. I keep hearing like, oh, kids can't get hired out of school. They're never going to get hired. We've lost all, it seems like an existential crisis, right? It's like, they don't know anything, and they're going to learn on the job, but now there's nothing to learn because AI is going to do it all. Well, what that tells me is schools are going to have to teach them some different stuff, or they're going to have to come to deliver on some more basic stuff. They need critical thinking. These are the softer, I would call them soft skills. I don't even know if critical thinking, is that a soft skill, hard skill? But don't come and apply for a job not having taken a course in critical thinking. We can already build reports. We've got a machine that does it. We need you to look at it, human in the loop, and tell us is it accurate or not. That's what I need. Then I would argue hypothesis framing, right? Come up with ideas. Push yourself. What do you think's happening? Right? Really important as we begin about problem solving. And then the last one, ecosystem strategy. We're actually, I think most companies, agencies, everyone, we're not great about integrating across work streams. How do we bring them together? How does paid, earned, owned, search, what is happening, right? When you see something scary and social, do you then go to search to like validate it, and then what happens? Do you click through, or do you go to Reddit to see what the Reddit team says? Like, understanding how these things work together is really important, and understanding those behaviors as data and analytics people to help, right, the people building the strategy, the creatives, the client directors, and how to actually deliver on it, right? I'll give you 3 predictions for next year. I think these things are really interesting to me. I still think most companies will fail to redesign their jobs by the end of the year around AI. It's right now at 5% of companies say they've built workflows around AI. 90% of companies say they use AI. What does that tell you? It's like what we experience. Here you go. Get working. Don't know how, don't know why. Start using it, right? Be the person, right, that figures it out, because I think this is the year the AI divide won't be about access. We'll all have it. It's going to be about ambition. Who are the people that are going to figure it out, work with it, and build the workflows to make you smarter? That's where I would put my time. Ambition's going to win this year. Who's seen this fun video? Oh, man, when I saw this, I so wanted it to be true. Bunnies coming into a backyard, bouncing on a trampoline, until I learned it was just, you know, AI. What a bummer. But I will tell you, cottage industry for you guys, mis and disinformation is we know, the #2 societal issue. Who's going to be on the front, you know, the front lines protecting our clients? It's you guys. They've only begun to invest in this. This is a huge problem coming. Huge. And there aren't very good solutions, by the way. You may have heard of C2PA, an organization that's trying to sort of watermark stuff so you can see the provenance of an asset. But man, bad actors always find a way around, don't they? And they always will. You guys are going to be real busy doing this. And then lastly, you're going to have all new metrics, completely new metrics. Remember what I talked about? AI is moving out of, you know, chat, right? But already with Geo, you probably saw it today, people are showing you new metrics you have to look at from, you know, sentiment and presence and visibility and all these things. Well, what happens to a brand like, say a brand like LG? I don't know if anyone has LG as a client in here. When I make an image in Nano Banana, I want a kitchen image. Does it show me an LG fridge? Does it show me a Samsung fridge? What's the toaster oven in the image? How do you manipulate that? What is that thing? What's the metric around that? Like, we're only beginning to see what's going to happen. Remember all the different devices this is going to move to. Now we have to measure all of them, because they're all going to get sort of, some will have mass adoption and some won't. This is my favorite. We talked about the glasses before. The new Meta Ray-Bans now actually can project in front of you. It's like when you're in a car and you see the miles per hour in front of you and you're like, oh, wow, that's cool. Well, now the glasses do it. Right? So you can be looking at things. You could be looking at a shelf of food in a supermarket and be like, coupons, who's got coupons? Bing, 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 bing. Or it could be best food for my kids. How do we win that, right? Right? Or best value per ounce, right? Or anywhere, looking at a car, what is this going to cost me in insurance? Like, everything you're looking at becomes a data point. Not that you can't take your phone out and do it now, but man, the behavior is really going to change. I love these 2 kids last summer, took the Meta Ray-Bans and took it to the nth degree. Like, what happens when like everything is a data point in front of you? And I want to show this to you, because to me, it kind of made it real. And they were just dabbling, and things have even moved past this, but they did it through the lens of chess. And I'm going to leave you with this.
These glasses make you the best chess player in the world. Oh, and Eddie's gonna use them to win in an IRL match.
All you need to do is put the glasses on, and we use AI to analyze the pieces on the board. Plug that into Stockfish, and the most optimal move is read aloud through the speakers on the headphone. Now, let's use them to become better than Hans Niemann. After a pretty simple opening, here's what the board looks like. And after a few seconds, the glasses tells me the best move is to sacrifice the rook. I don't know what the glasses see, but my opponent quickly takes the piece. I followed the instructions again, moving my queen to g8, putting it in check. My opponent is forced to take the piece, and the glasses tells me to move my bishop to f5, which puts him in checkmate. I shake his hand, and he congratulates me with zero idea that he was actually playing a computer.
All right. Who wants to go to Vegas? And you're going to go to the table, the card table, and be like, please, blackjack, please take your glasses off. I mean, we're getting into a weird world. It's funny. They went off to like, imagine the privacy issues and whatever. Well, it's already happening, because, you know, Meta is now trying to allow you to identify people with their glasses. But just think, like, who knows where this goes, right? but you're going to have to measure all of it. So when we talk about sort of job security, I'm actually really bullish. I think there's going to be more jobs, but you're going to be doing a lot of stuff faster, right? Dishwasher. You're going to be doing a lot of dishwashing, but hopefully it's really good work because I think it moves upstream. It's not the bulk, like I got to put this like thing together. It could take 2 weeks to copy and paste all these things. No, it's going to be the interpretation of it. That's going to be the expectation, even from the most junior people. We don't need you to do an output. We need you to look at the output, validate it, and then give me some thoughts. So when I get started and I have to sort of really build a strategy, I've got a head start. That's where things are going. I leave this with you here because there are certain sources I use every day that just keeps me up to date. Every day, every week, something crazy happens. It's really hard to keep up. Remember we talked about ambition. If you're ambitious about your role, I would try and get 15 minutes in the morning. My favorite, just to read these. They're really good. They're not super technical, but they from thematically start to tell you where the heck things are going, so you can at least begin to think about it. I love Neuron, Axios, and Mindstream at the bottom are my favorites, but they're all really good. I would check them out. But anyway, hopefully that didn't discourage you and it actually encouraged you. I think the workforce and your place in the world is absolutely more critical than ever. So thank you.